He stared at the ceiling again, counting cracks like they were steps he'd never take. Another day gone, another promise broken, and deep inside, a quiet, terrifying question kept echoing louder with every passing hour. What if I never change? Arman wasn't stupid. He knew what success looked like. He watched it every day. On his phone, on billboards, in the stories of people who started from nothing. He saved motivational videos. He wrote goals in a notebook. He even told his friends, "One day, I'll make it big." But there was one problem. He never started. Mornings were always the same. Alarm rings. Snooze. Scroll. I'll start tomorrow. Nights were worse. Regret sat on his chest like a weight he couldn't push off. He would replay the day in his mind, hating how easy it would have been to just begin. But he didn't, and that hurt more than failure ever could. His room slowly became a reflection of his mind. Messy, unfinished, stuck, books half read, plans half written, dreams completely untouched. One evening, his younger sister knocked on his door. "Bye. Can you help me with my homework?" He sighed, annoyed. "Later." She hesitated, then quietly said, "You always say later." The door closed softly, but those words didn't. They stayed. They echoed. "You always say later." That night, Arman couldn't sleep. Not because he wasn't tired, but because he finally felt something deeper than guilt. Shame. He walked to the mirror and looked at himself. Really looked. Not the version he imagined becoming. Not the confident, successful future version. Just him. Tired eyes. Slouched shoulders. A face full of excuses. "Why am I like this?" he whispered. And for the first time he didn't blame the world. Not his circumstances. Not bad luck. Not lack of opportunity. Just himself. The truth hit hard. He didn't lack dreams. He lacked discipline. The next morning, nothing felt magical. There was no sudden burst of motivation. No epic music playing in the background. Just the same alarm. But this time he didn't snooze. He sat up slowly. His body resisted. His mind whispered, "Just 5 more minutes." But something inside him, something small, but stronger than before, said, "No." It wasn't a big victory. It wasn't life-changing. But it was different. He made his bed. A simple act. Almost meaningless. But for Arman it felt like climbing a mountain. Still, the day didn't go perfectly. By afternoon he was back on his phone. By evening he skipped the work he had planned. The old patterns weren't gone. They were waiting. And that night the guilt returned. But this time it wasn't as heavy. Because for the first time he had fought back. And somewhere between his failures and his effort, a question started forming. Not what if I never change, but what if I actually can? The next few weeks were messy. Progress wasn't clean. Some days he woke up early. Some days he didn't. Some days he worked hard. Other days he fell right back into laziness. But something had shifted. He stopped chasing motivation and started building habits. He began small, just 10 minutes of focused work, then 20, then an hour. He set rules for himself: no phone before work, no excuses after 8 p.m. It wasn't easy. Some days felt like a war inside his own head, and often he lost. But he kept showing up. One day his friend called him out. "Bro, you've changed. You don't waste time like before." Arman paused. For a moment he didn't believe it, because inside he still felt like the same lazy person. But then he realized change doesn't feel like transformation. It feels like resistance. Months passed. Slowly, quietly, things started happening. He completed projects he once avoided. He gained confidence, not from imagining success but from earning it. His room changed. His routine changed. He changed. But the biggest moment didn't come with applause or achievement. It came on an ordinary night. He sat on his bed, exhausted after a long day of work. Not the tiredness of doing nothing, but the deep, satisfying exhaustion of effort. And for the first time in years, he felt proud. Not because he had reached the top, but because he had finally left the bottom. He smiled, looking at the same ceiling he once stared at in frustration. The cracks were still there, because he was too busy building something bigger than excuses, something stronger than laziness. A life. And as he closed his eyes, one truth settled deep in his heart. Success was never out of reach. It was just waiting, on the other side of discipline. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to feel ready. You don't even need motivation every day. You just need to stop saying later, because the life you want isn't built in someday. It's built in the small, painful, powerful choices you make today. And the moment you decide to move, even just a little, you're no longer lazy. You're becoming unstoppable.